The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a place of wonder. Giant crystal pillars held up a ceiling that showed the stars themselves. Beings from 12 different worlds sat in floating chairs arranged in a perfect circle. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had skin that changed color with their moods. And in one small section, looking very ordinary compared to the rest, sat the human delegation. Ambassador Daniel Cross had been doing this job for 15 years. He knew every trick, every insult hidden behind polite words, and every way the other species looked down on his people. Today was no different. The Vorthani High Counselor, a tall creature with 4 eyes and skin like gray stone, was speaking in that slow, careful way that meant he was about to ask for something humans would hate. The Dravoshi Dominion has expressed concern about the Kepler 442 system, Zethrak said, his 4 eyes blinking one at a time. They believe the human presence there threatens the stability of the region. Daniel kept his face calm. The Kepler 442 system had been settled by humans for 30 years. 12,000 people lived there. They had built homes, schools, and farms. They had created a life on a world that was empty before they arrived. The Dravoshi border is 4 light-years away from Kepler 442, Daniel said. I fail to see how our colony threatens anyone. A sound like grinding rocks came from the Dravoshi section. Their representative, a massive creature covered in black armor plates, leaned forward. Your ships pass near our territory. Your signals interfere with our communications. Your very presence is an insult. This was how it always went. The other species would make demands. They would claim humans were causing problems, and the council would suggest that humans give up something to make peace. Zethrak raised one of his 4 hands. Perhaps a compromise would serve everyone. If humanity were to withdraw from Kepler 442 and allow the Dravoshi to oversee the system, tensions would ease. Daniel heard Commander Lisa Hawkins shift in her seat behind him. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the human delegation, a woman who had spent 30 years in the United Earth Defense Force. He knew she wanted to speak. He also knew that if she did, she would say something that would make things worse. The council's suggestion is noted, Daniel said carefully. We will discuss this with our government. The session ended shortly after. Daniel walked through the curved hallways of Nexus Prime, the massive space station that served as the council's home. Lisa walked beside him, her boots hitting the floor with more force than necessary. That is the 7th system they have asked us to give up, she said. 7th in 3 years. How long do we keep doing this? Daniel did not answer right away. They passed a group of Kethvari traders, small creatures with too many legs who scattered out of their way. Even the merchants of the galaxy avoided humans, though not from fear. They simply did not see humans as worth their time. We keep doing it as long as we need to, Daniel finally said. Lisa stopped walking. They think we are cowards. Every species on this station believes humans are too weak to fight, too scared to stand up for ourselves. Daniel turned to face her. His expression was calm, but something moved behind his eyes. Let them think what they want. Why? Why do we let them push us around? They reached the door to the human section. Daniel pressed his hand to the panel, and it slid open to reveal a simple room with human furniture, human food, and human art on the walls. It was a small piece of earth in the middle of an alien station. Daniel walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12,000 people on New Anchorage were going about their lives, not knowing that politicians were trying to take their home away. Do you know why we have never fought a war in space? He asked. Lisa crossed her arms. Because our leaders are too afraid of what might happen. No, Daniel turned to face her. Because our leaders know exactly what will happen if we start, and they want to avoid it as long as possible. Lisa frowned. What does that mean? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Humanity has been part of this council for 47 years. In that time, we have signed every treaty. We have agreed to every compromise. We have pulled back our ships whenever there was tension. Do you know what the other species think about that? That we are weak. Yes, they think we fear war. They think we lack the strength to fight. Daniel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They're wrong. Lisa uncrossed her arms. Then, why do we act this way? Because fear of war is not the same as fear of fighting. We do not avoid conflict because we are scared of losing. We avoid it because we know what happens when humans decide to win. The words hung in the air between them. Lisa had served in the military her entire adult life. She had trained with weapons, commanded ships, and studied tactics. But she had never actually fought a real battle. No human alive had fought in a space war. What are you saying? She asked. Daniel looked back at the stars. Our history is full of war. For thousands of years, humans fought each other. We invented new ways to kill. We destroyed cities, ended civilizations, and nearly wiped ourselves out more than once. When we finally made it to the stars, we promised ourselves we would be different. We would choose peace. But we have not always been at peace, Lisa said. The Earth Wars, the colony rebellions, internal conflicts, humans fighting humans. Daniel shook his head. We have never shown the galaxy what happens when humanity fights someone else. We have never let them see what we built during all those years of apparent weakness. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. What did we build? Daniel did not answer. Instead, he asked a question of his own. Do you trust me, Commander? She hesitated, then nodded. I do. Then trust me when I say this. The day will come when we cannot compromise anymore. When some species pushes too hard and forces our hand. And on that day, the galaxy will learn the truth about humanity. He paused. I just hope we can delay that day as long as possible. Because once they see what we are capable of, nothing will ever be the same. Outside the window, a Dravoshi warship passed by, its black hull blocking the stars for a moment. Lisa watched it go and wondered what secrets her own people were keeping. What weapons waited in the darkness of space, built by human hands, hoping to never be used. She had a feeling she would find out soon enough. 3 months passed after the council meeting. The human government sent messages and made offers and tried to find a solution that would let everyone be happy. But the Dravoshi Dominion had grown tired of waiting. They wanted the Kepler 442 system, and they had decided to take it. The attack came without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. Kevin Palmer was eating breakfast with his daughter Megan when the alarm started. He was the administrator of New Anchorage, the main colony on Kepler 442b. It was a job that usually meant paperwork and meetings and solving small problems between neighbors. It was not supposed to mean war. Dad, what is that noise? Megan asked. She was 9 years old, with brown hair and curious eyes that reminded Kevin of his late wife. Kevin grabbed his communicator from the table. The screen was filled with emergency alerts. His hands began to shake as he read them. We need to go to the shelter, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. Right now, sweetheart. The streets of New Anchorage were filled with people running in the same direction. The colony had been built with emergency bunkers deep underground, just in case something bad happened. Nobody had ever really believed they would need them. Kevin held Megan's hand tight as they joined the crowd. Above them, through the transparent dome that protected the colony from the alien atmosphere, he could see lights moving in the sky. Lots of lights. More than he could count. The bunker was cold and crowded. Hundreds of people pressed together in a space meant for half that number. Children cried. Adults whispered to each other with fear in their eyes. Kevin found a corner where Megan could sit and wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. "Stay here," he told her. "I need to find out what is happening." The command center was a small room at the back of the bunker. A few security officers and communication technicians were trying to make sense of the chaos. One of them, a young woman named Sophie, looked up when Kevin entered. 53 ships, she said. Her voice was hollow. Dravoshi warships. They came out of fold space 20 minutes ago and surrounded the planet. Kevin felt his stomach drop. 53 warships. New Anchorage had no military vessels. They had a small security force with basic weapons meant for dealing with criminals, not armies. They had mining ships and cargo haulers and family transports. Nothing that could fight a fleet. Have they made contact? He asked. Sophie nodded and pressed a button. A harsh voice filled the room, speaking in the common trade language of the galaxy. "Human colony, this is Warlord Kethra of the Dravoshi Dominion. Your government has refused our reasonable requests. Now we will take what is rightfully ours. You have 1 hour to surrender completely. If you do not, we will destroy your colony and everyone in it. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The message ended. The room was silent. "What do we do?" Sophie asked. She was young, barely 25. She had come to New Anchorage to start a new life, not to die in a war. Kevin closed his eyes. 12,000 people were counting on him to make a decision. Women, men, children, families who had done nothing wrong except live on a world that someone else wanted. "Send a message to Earth Command," he said. "Tell them what is happening. Tell them we need help." "That will take hours," one of the officers said. "The nearest Earth fleet is 2 weeks away. Send it anyway." And then Kevin paused. He hated what he was about to say. "Prepare a surrender document. If no help comes, we will have to give them what they want." He walked back to find Megan. She was sitting where he had left her, holding her knees to her chest. When she saw him, she reached out her arms, and he knelt down to hold her. "Dad," she whispered, "are we going to be okay?" Kevin wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her everything would be fine, and that someone would come to save them. But he had always promised himself he would be honest with his daughter, even when the truth was hard. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I am going to do everything I can to protect you." 20 minutes passed. 30. The hour was running out, and Kevin had accepted that he would have to surrender his colony to save the people inside it. He was walking back to the command center to give the order when Sophie came running toward him. "Administrator, you need to hear this." They rushed to the command center. Sophie pointed at the communication screen. A new signal had appeared, coming from the edge of the solar system. "New Anchorage, this is Admiral Katie Morrison aboard the USS Defiance. We read your situation. Hold tight. Cavalry is coming." Kevin stared at the screen. "Admiral Morrison? I do not understand. The nearest fleet is weeks away." The voice on the other end was calm and steady, like a doctor telling you that a difficult surgery would be just fine. "We were not with the main fleet, Administrator. We were closer. Much closer. How many ships do you have?" "The Dravoshi have 53 warships." There was a pause. When Admiral Morrison spoke again, Kevin could hear something strange in her voice. It was not fear. It was not worry. It was something that sounded almost like amusement. "Just the one, Administrator. That should be plenty." Kevin looked at Sophie. She looked back at him. Neither of them understood. 1 ship against 53? Kevin said, "Admiral, with respect, that is impossible. They will destroy you. Watch the sky, Administrator, and tell your people to stay calm. This will be over soon." The signal ended. Kevin stood frozen for a moment, then ran to the observation window. Through the dome, He could still see the Dravoshi fleet circling the planet like vultures, waiting for something to die. And then, at the edge of his vision, he saw something new. A single point of light, moving toward the planet with terrible speed. One ship. Against an entire fleet. Kevin did not understand what was about to happen. Nobody in the colony did. But deep in his chest, he felt something he had not felt since the alarm started. Hope. He ran back to find Megan and held her close. "Someone is coming to help us," he told her. "I do not know how, but someone is coming." Outside, the single point of light grew brighter. And aboard the USS Defiance, Admiral Katie Morrison gave an order that would change the galaxy forever. "All hands, battle stations. Time to show them what humanity is really made of." Warlord Kethra sat in his command chair aboard the Dominion's Pride, the largest warship in the Dravoshi fleet. He was a creature of war, born to fight, trained to conquer. His black armor plates were covered with marks that showed every battle he had won. There were many marks. "Warlord," one of his officers called out, "we have detected a vessel entering the system." Kethra turned his massive head. "Human?" "Yes, Warlord. One ship. Dreadnought class. No escort vessels." A sound like stones breaking came from Kethra's throat. It was laughter. One ship. The humans had sent one ship to face 53 of the finest warships in the Dravoshi fleet. This was exactly what he expected from such weak creatures. "What do we know about this vessel?" he asked. The officer studied his screens. "Configuration unknown. 3 kilometers long. Black hull. No visible weapon systems. No fighter bays. She appears to be empty, Warlord. Empty? We cannot detect any external weapons. Perhaps she is a transport or a hospital ship." Kethra stood from his chair. He was 3 meters tall, and when he moved, the bridge shook slightly under his weight. The humans send a hospital ship to face a war fleet. They truly are as cowardly as the reports say. All ships move to intercept. We will destroy this vessel and then take the colony. The Dravoshi fleet turned as 153 warships moving toward the single point of light at the edge of the system. They charged their weapons as they flew, preparing plasma cannons and missile tubes and all the tools of destruction they had used to conquer 100 worlds. Aboard the USS Defiance, Admiral Katie Morrison watched them come. She was 52 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen things she never talked about. She had joined the Earth Defense Force when she was 18 and had spent her entire life preparing for a moment she hoped would never arrive. Now it was here, and she felt nothing but calm. 53 contacts approaching. Her executive officer, Commander Ryan Kelly, reported. "They are charging weapons." Katie nodded slowly. "Distance? 400,000 kilometers and closing." Around her, the bridge crew worked at their stations. They were the best officers in the human fleet, chosen for this ship because they could be trusted with secrets that most humans did not know existed. None of them showed fear. They had trained for this too long. "Commander Kelly," Katie said, "activate the Prometheus array." Ryan pressed a series of buttons on his console. Deep within the Defiance, in chambers that were sealed behind doors 3 meters thick, systems began to wake up. Systems that had been built over decades, tested in secret facilities on the dark side of the moon, and never once used in actual combat. The ship hummed. It was a low sound, felt more than heard, like the heartbeat of something very large and very powerful. "Prometheus array online," Ryan reported. All systems green. The Dravoshi fleet was now 200,000 kilometers away. Close enough that both sides could see each other clearly on their screens. Kethra studied the human vessel and felt the first tiny seed of doubt enter his mind. The ship was strange. It did not look like any human vessel in the intelligence reports. Its hull seemed to drink in light instead of reflecting it. And there was something about its shape that made him uncomfortable, though he could not say why. "Open fire," he commanded. "All ships. Destroy them." 53 warships unleashed their weapons at once. Plasma bolts, missiles, kinetic rounds, energy beams. Thousands of projectiles screamed across space toward the lone human vessel. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The crew of the Defiance watched the attack come. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The weapons reached the ship and simply vanished. Kethra stared at his tactical display. What happened? Where did our weapons go? Unknown warlord. They appeared to be absorbed approximately 300 meters from the human hull. Some kind of energy field. Nothing penetrated. Absorbed. Not deflected, not dodged, not blocked. Absorbed, as if the attack had never existed at all. On the Defiance, Katie Morrison allowed herself a small smile. "Commander Kelly, return fire. One target. Show them what they are dealing with." Ryan Kelly selected the largest Dravoshi battlecruiser on his screen. His finger hovered over the firing button. He thought about all the years of secrecy, all the careful hiding, all the times humanity had pretended to be weak. Then he pressed the button. A beam of light erupted from the front of the Defiance. It was not like normal weapons fire. It did not travel across space. It simply existed, a line of pure white energy connecting the human ship to its target in an instant. The Dravoshi battlecruiser did not explode. There was no fire, no debris, no dramatic death. The ship was simply there one moment and gone the next, converted from solid matter into expanding atoms, faster than any sensor could measure. Silence fell across every ship in the system. Every Dravoshi officer stared at the empty space where their comrades had been. Every human colonist watching from below saw the flash of light and wondered what it meant. Warlord. Kethra felt something he had not felt in 50 years of warfare. Fear. True. Deep, primal fear. All ships. Admiral Morrison's voice came across the open channel. Calm and clear and terrible. This is the USS Defiance. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. There will be no second warning. Kethra's officers looked at him. They wanted orders. They wanted him to tell them what to do. But for the first time in his life, Kethra had no idea. Warlord, one of them whispered. What was that weapon? Our sensors cannot even identify it. Kethra did not answer. He was staring at the black human ship on his screen, seeing it clearly for the first time. Not a hospital ship. Not a transport. Something else entirely. Something that had been hiding in plain sight while humanity pretended to be weak. 40 seconds, Katie Morrison said. Another Dravoshi officer spoke up. Warlord, we should fight. We have 52 ships remaining. Surely we can overwhelm them. Can we? Kethra asked quietly. One shot destroyed our largest battlecruiser instantly. One shot. They have not even shown us their full capabilities yet. He paused. How many shots do you think that ship can fire? Nobody answered. 20 seconds. Kethra closed his eyes. He had conquered worlds. He had never surrendered to anyone. But he had also never faced something like this. Never faced an enemy who had been pretending to be prey while actually being the predator. Power down all weapons, he ordered. Signal our surrender. Warlord, do it. Kethra roared. I will not throw away 52 ships and 10,000 warriors against an enemy we cannot even hurt. This battle is over. And so it was. The greatest Dravoshi war fleet in a century lowered its weapons and admitted defeat to a single human vessel. And across the galaxy, everything began to change. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species, every world, every government heard the story within hours. A single human ship had faced 53 Dravoshi warships and won without taking a single scratch. One weapon, one shot, and the mightiest fleet in the Dominion had surrendered. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. It was the fastest they had ever assembled. Representatives who normally took weeks to arrive found ways to be there within days. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted to understand what had happened. Ambassador Daniel Cross arrived at Nexus Prime knowing exactly what he would face. As he walked through the corridors toward the council chamber, he saw the change in how other species looked at him. Before, they had ignored him or moved past him like he was nothing. Now they watched. Now they stared. And in their eyes, he saw something new. Fear. The council chamber was full. Every seat was taken. Every representative was present. High Counselor Zethrak stood at the center, his 4 eyes fixed on Daniel as he entered. Ambassador Cross, Zethrak said. His voice was different than before. The casual contempt was gone, replaced by something harder. You have much to explain. Daniel walked to his place at the center of the room. He did not hurry. He did not look nervous. He stood the way humans always stood in this chamber, quiet and patient and seemingly harmless. I am happy to answer any questions the council has, he said. Questions? The Dravoshi representative slammed his armored fist against his podium. You deceived us. For decades, you pretended to be weak. You let us believe humans feared war. You made us think you were cowards while you built weapons capable of destroying our fleets. Murmurs of agreement came from around the chamber. Other species nodded. Other representatives glared. Daniel let them finish. Then he spoke, his voice calm and clear. We never said we feared war. The chamber fell silent. We never claimed to be weak. We never told anyone we could not fight. You assumed those things because we chose peace, because we agreed to compromises, because we believed in talking instead of shooting. Daniel paused. Those assumptions were yours, not ours. Zethrak leaned forward. You hid weapons from us. Weapons of terrible power. We developed them, Daniel corrected. There is a difference. Every species in this council has weapons they do not share with others. Every government has secrets. Ours were no different. Your weapon destroyed a ship instantly, another representative said. A full battlecruiser turned to nothing in less than a second. That is not a normal weapon. That is something else entirely. Daniel nodded slowly. You are right. It is something else. It is the result of 100 years of research, development, and testing. It is what happens when a species that spent 10,000 years fighting itself decides to point that experience outward instead. He touched a control on his podium, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed ships, not just the Defiance, but dozens of vessels of similar size and power. Some were larger. Some looked different. All of them carried the same black holes and the same hidden weapons. This is the United Earth Defense Fleet, Daniel said. Not the ships you have seen patrolling our borders or visiting your stations. Those are our public vessels, designed to be seen. These are the others. The ones we built in secret, in shipyards hidden in deep space, crewed by officers who swore oaths of silence. The representatives stared at the display. Some of them counted the ships. Some of them tried to calculate what such a force could do. All of them understood the same thing. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had never been afraid. Humanity had simply chosen not to reveal its true strength. Why? Zethrak asked. His voice was quieter now. Why hide this? Why pretend? Daniel turned off the display. Because we hoped we would never need to use it. Because we believed that if we worked hard enough, if we compromised enough, if we proved that we wanted peace, We could avoid becoming what our history says we are. And what is that? Daniel was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of human history. We are warriors. We have always been warriors. For most of our existence, we fought each other. We invented weapons faster than any species in known space. We developed tactics, strategies, and tools of destruction that the galaxy has never imagined. We nearly wiped ourselves out more than once. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every representative. When we finally stopped fighting ourselves and reached the stars, we made a choice. We decided to be different. We decided that strength did not have to mean cruelty. That power did not have to mean domination. That we could build instead of destroy, negotiate instead of conquer. But you still built the weapons, the Dravoshi representative growled. Yes, because we are not fools. We hoped for peace, but we prepared for the alternative. We knew that someday, someone might push us too far. Someone might force our hand. Daniel paused. The Dravoshi Dominion made that choice when they attacked a colony of 12,000 innocent people. Silence filled the chamber. The question was never whether we could win, Daniel continued. We always knew we could. The question was whether winning was worth the cost. War changes everything. Once it starts, it is hard to stop. We did not want to become conquerors. We did not want to be the monsters that destroy civilizations and take what we want because we can. He straightened his shoulders. But make no mistake, if anyone attacks our people again, they will face what the Dravoshi faced. They will learn that the species they dismissed as cowards is actually the most dangerous thing in this galaxy. Not because we enjoy war, but because we have spent our entire history perfecting it. High Counselor Zethrak sat back in his chair. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he processed what he had heard. Around him, the other representatives were doing the same thing. They were all realizing the same truth. They had spent 47 years pushing a predator they thought was prey. They had stolen territory, made demands, treated humans with contempt. And all that time, the humans could have fought back. Could have destroyed anyone who challenged them. But they chose not to. That choice, Daniel knew, was what truly frightened them. Not the weapons, not the ships, but the idea that humanity had the power to do whatever it wanted and chose restraint instead. Because if they ever stopped choosing restraint, nothing in the galaxy could stop them. This council needs time to discuss these revelations, Zethrak said finally. We will reconvene tomorrow. Daniel nodded politely. Of course. Take all the time you need. He turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving the most powerful beings in the galaxy sitting in stunned silence behind him. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed in ways nobody expected. The Dravoshi Dominion sent a formal apology to Earth within 3 days. They admitted their attack on New Anchorage was wrong. They agreed to pay for all the damage they had caused. They returned Warlord Kethra to face human justice, though he was eventually sent back to his own people after a trial that showed more mercy than anyone thought possible. Every system that humanity had given up over the years was returned. No negotiations were needed. No discussions were held. The governments that had taken human territory simply announced they were giving it back. Along with statements about the importance of good relations with Earth. Ambassador Daniel Cross received hundreds of messages from species that had never contacted humanity before. Some wanted trade agreements. Some wanted military alliances. Some simply wanted to talk, to understand these strange beings, who had chosen peace when they could have chosen conquest. Daniel read every message and answered none of them the same way. He knew that everything had changed, but he also knew that change could go in many directions. Some species would become true friends. Others would fear humanity forever. And some might try to catch up. to build weapons of their own that could match what the Defiance had shown them. That was a problem for another day. On Earth, Admiral Katie Morrison became a hero whether she wanted to be or not. Her face appeared on news broadcasts across the planet. Children drew pictures of the Defiance. Politicians praised her name in speeches. She attended the ceremonies she was required to attend, accepted the medal she was given, and then asked to be left alone. A month after the battle, she stood in a garden outside the Capitol building in Geneva. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that reminded her of the plasma fire she had seen from her bridge. Daniel Cross found her there, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. "I thought you might need this," he said, offering her one. Katie took it and wrapped her hands around its warmth. "Thank you." They stood together in silence for a while, watching the colors fade from the sky. "They are afraid of us now," Katie finally said. "Every species in the Council. Every government in the galaxy. They look at humans and see monsters hiding in friendly faces." Daniel nodded. "That is true for some of them. Is that what we wanted?" Daniel considered the question carefully. Fear was never the goal. Understanding was. We wanted them to realize that restraint is not weakness. That choosing peace when you have the power to dominate is the harder path, not the easier one. Did we achieve it? Some of them understand. The smarter ones, the wiser ones. They see that humanity could have conquered the galaxy by now if we wanted to. They realize we chose not to. That means something to them. Katie sipped her coffee. "And the ones who do not understand," Daniel smiled slightly. "They will learn, one way or another." Far away on New Anchorage, the colony was returning to normal. The damage from the panic had been repaired. The emergency shelters had been emptied. Children went back to school. Workers returned to their jobs. Life continued the way it always did, because that was what humans knew how to do. Kevin Palmer stood on the observation deck of the Capitol Dome, watching ships pass overhead. Some were human vessels bringing supplies. Others were alien ships carrying diplomats and traders and curious travelers who wanted to see the colony that had sparked a galactic revelation. Megan stood beside him, her hand in his. She had been quieter since the attack, more thoughtful. Kevin worried about her sometimes, but he also saw strength in her that had not been there before. "Dad," she said, "I talked to some of the alien children today. Their parents brought them to visit the colony." Kevin looked down at her. "What did you talk about?" "They asked me if humans were really as scary as everyone says. They said their parents told them humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Megan frowned. "I did not know what to tell them." Kevin knelt down so he was at her eye level. This was an important moment, and he wanted to get it right. "What do you think?" he asked. "Do you think humans are scary?" Megan thought about it. "I think we can be. You told me about the wars a long time ago. About all the fighting. That is true. We have done scary things in our past. But we do not do them anymore, right?" Kevin looked up at the stars visible through the dome. Somewhere out there, the Defiance was patrolling human space, carrying weapons that could end civilizations. Somewhere out there, other ships just like it were doing the same thing. An entire fleet of destruction, crewed by humans who hoped they would never have to fire their weapons again. "We try not to," he said carefully. "We learned that being strong does not mean you have to be cool, and being kind does not mean you have to be weak. Does that make sense?" Megan nodded slowly. "So we are nice to everyone unless they try to hurt us. And then we stop them." Kevin laughed softly. It was a simple way of putting it, but it was not wrong. "Something like that, sweetheart. Something like that." An alien family was walking across the plaza below them. The parents were tall beings with purple skin and too many arms. Their children were small, curious creatures who kept stopping to look at human buildings and human trees and human art, One of them looked up and saw Megan watching through the dome. The child waved. Megan waved back. That small gesture, Kevin thought, was the whole point. Two children from different species, meeting each other across a gap that had seemed impossible to cross. One came from a people who had been dismissed as weak for decades. The other came from a civilization that had just learned how wrong that assumption was. And now, instead of fear or hatred, they waved at each other. They were curious about each other. They might even become friends someday. That was what humanity had been working toward all along. Not conquest. Not domination. Just a place among the stars where they could be themselves, with all their strength and all their restraint, and be respected for both. The sun set over New Anchorage. The stars came out, bright and countless and full of possibility. And somewhere in the darkness between worlds, humanity stood guard, hoping for peace but ready for whatever came next, because that was what they had always been. Warriors who chose to be builders. Conquerors who chose to be friends. The most dangerous species in the galaxy, who had decided that being dangerous was not enough. They wanted to be good. And finally, the galaxy was beginning to understand what that really meant.